I want you Sunday, I want you Monday, I want you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I want your blonde hair, I want your black hair, I want your brown hair, red hair, no hair, baby, I don't care. I want you every day, I want you in every way, I want you in every day, I want you in every way and every day. I want you Sunday, I want you Monday, I want you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I want your blonde hair, I want your black hair, I want your brown hair, red hair, no hair, baby, I don't care. I want you in every day, I want you in every way, I want you in every day, I want you in every way, every day.
Well, we finally made it. It's only an hour and a half up here to the Kaibab where we're hunting. My brother and I, we set up some game cameras about 5 weeks ago. And I checked them 2 weeks ago, pulled some, but today we're gonna go set some more and see what kind of deer movement we've got going on. There's a huge fire going on right over here, but it's a managed fire. It was a lightning strike. They're gonna manage it for 19,000 acres of controlled burn, but luckily it's on the opposite side of the road from where we're hunting, so we're just kind of getting a good pattern. These early season bucks right now are just monstrous and everyone's seeing a bunch of big deer. We're just trying to figure out, you know, where the main concentration is. So we get out, get this thing unloaded, check some cameras. The Kaibab National Forest in Arizona is one of my favorite places to hunt. For the past 3 years, I've been lucky enough to draw a tag on this mountain. When late June rolled around, my brother and I were notified that we had drawn another hunt in Arizona. Although we were unsure which tag we had received, we were optimistic that we would be doing the early archery hunt for the second year in a row, and began setting up game cameras to see where our main concentration of deer would be. On public land, patterning these mule deer can be difficult. We knew that within the first few days of the hunt, the increased pressure would scatter the herd and bring additional challenges. Due to the amount of moisture we had received the winter before, we began seeing bucks with great potential early on and with more than 8 weeks left of the growing season.
David, that's your 180. He's gonna be your 180.
That's 180 all day.
That thing is gonna be 180
all day.
All day, every day. Throughout the preseason, we continue to put in the work and monitor the deer in the area, and we're not disappointed in the overall health of the population on the Kaibab. With more deer showing larger and faster growth than the year before, we knew that this year was going to be different than the year before, and this was going to be the year where we could really do something special. Once the time had finally come to head to the mountain, we knew that the work we had done in the months before would give us the opportunities we were looking for. And as the sun set the night before opening morning, it was time to hit the field and see what we could make happen.
It's opening day of the Kaibab archery hunt, and we're going to go hang out on a ridge over here, and we're going to try to tuck in out of this wind as well.
Opening day on public land can look a lot like the Baja 500, and this morning wasn't any different. With hunters taken to the woods and wind ripping out of the west, we headed to one of our main ridges to put some glass on these majestic mule deer in Arizona. It didn't take long before we were on one of the bachelor herds we'd been watching all summer.
It's been a good morning. We've seen a bunch of groups of deer. They're getting pushed around. So we're gonna go back to the truck, move to a different ridge, and see if we can't pick up one of the groups that we've been seeing. See if we can't put stock on them. And so we went back to where we lost sight of a lot of the deer this morning and started working those pockets that we thought they would have bedded in. We ended up finding one of the groups from this morning, but they spotted us well before we spotted them. And then as we were working around to get an angle to see if we could watch where they're going, we kicked up a really nice deer, but we'll see if we can find him in the morning.
The second morning, we headed back to see if we could relocate some of the deer from the day before. It didn't take long to glass up 2 of the bucks and start on our stock.
Oh, dude. That's those big bucks from yesterday. 2 of them at least. They're right on this pole and they're about to feed right over into that canyon. It's really smoky, but this wind is perfect to get on a perfect stock. I can see these 2 big bucks right here in front of us. They're going right to where there was a game camera and some salt set up on top of the ridge.
After closing the distance on the 2 bucks from this morning, we came over the ridge and realized that we were closer than we had thought, and they were both looking directly at us and spooked off.
That one's just chilling on their deal. That's another 4-point. That was a good 4-point. I would take that buck. Those are the 2 bucks that came over this ridge. They're like, what, 50 yards maybe?
The next few days of the hunt became tough. With the wind and lack of rain, the smoke from the nearby wildfires had decreased visibility drastically. Although we were still seeing a lot of deer movement, the pressure from other hunters had increased difficulty in making successful stalks. As day 5 came to an end, we knew it was beginning to be crunch time for my brother to fill his tag. Today is day 6 out here. The deer activity is picking up a lot, which is nice. Today's the coldest day we've had. It's 41 degrees, minimal wind, and this afternoon we're supposed to get 20% chance of thunderstorms, so that's awesome. But the deer activity's been really picking up. We're out here on this ridge where we glassed up a few good bucks a few days ago. Hopefully we can pick up on some shooters and make a move. This hunt's getting better and better, but with this weekend being Labor Day weekend, the pressure's gonna pick up. So we've got a few days to really kind of seal the deal and make it happen. Hopefully today's that day. Been glassing this ridge, and there's a 4-point and a 3-point down here on the point. The wind has switched on us. It's blowing straight out of the east, and these are 2 bucks I'm not quite after yet, but David's only got a few more days left to hunt up here, so we're gonna go back up here to the honey hole, try and glass down in there and see if we can get him on one of those 2 bucks. And if the wind shifts because of thermals, it's a perfect position to get on either side of that ridge and make a stalk. So hopefully we can get a deer down this morning. That's the plan. I just glassed up this buck right here. Down behind a down log, there were some aspens. He's a really nice 4x4. Really nice 4x4. And David's gonna go sneak down and around, see if he can get on him. I think he's actually part of the bachelor we saw this morning. He's a really good buck. Hopefully we can pull this off because this wind keeps swirling with these storms. We'll see. After we had located this buck and stalking it for over an hour, my brother had managed to get within 20 yards of a nice 4-point, but didn't have a clear shot. With the storms rolling in, the wind shifted and promptly spooked the buck. He just got within like 20 yards of that buck. Then the wind swirled and he took off. So we'll go find another one. That's how it's gonna be. Later that afternoon, the much-needed rains finally rolled in. We knew this was the perfect storm for increased activity the next day. As the sun set on day 5, we knew we were going to have to change things up if my brother was going to fill his Kaibab archery tag. So today is David's last day in camp here. We got the morning hunt, and then we're gonna pack some things up and head back to town. But the hunt's been really progressing quite a bit. We've been seeing a lot more deer action in the morning. Been actually seeing deer action in the evenings, which is good. So hopefully we can put it together today and get it done, because it sure would be nice to send him home with a buck. I've got the rest of the hunt. I'm gonna go home for a few days, but I'll be back. So we'll see what this morning happens. We're gonna head to the honey hole and see if we can get on Coke can, floater buck, whale tail, stickers, free willy, crab shack, all sorts of big deer running around in there. Let's see what happens. As we were heading to the honey hole, we decided to switch ridges, and it didn't take long before we found one of the largest deer we had seen this season. This buck was a true giant and earned the nickname Shark Tooth for his layers of non-typical antlers on both sides. After making a game plan to get on these bucks, Shark Tooth got up from his bed and crossed the ridge. that was the last time we had laid eyes on this Kaibab legend.
So that big buck we saw earlier today, he took off, but the nice 4-point that was running with him is still bedded right down here. I'm gonna have a fun, long, hot stalk. It's gonna be up and down about 3 canyons, but we're hoping that we can sneak in here because this is literally my last stalk of the hunt, and if this doesn't work out, we'll go home.
All right, dude.
Woohoo!
Go get him. Shoot straight. 260 or bust. After getting position, it was nearly 2 hours before the buck had started to feed out of his bed and give my brother a clear shot. When the shot presented itself, my brother took his shot, but the deer ducked his arrow at 50 yards, and my brother's hunt was officially over. So we just got up here and it's raining like none other. There's storms all over the place, wind blowing. This is the canyon we saw Sharktooth come over and bed down in, and hopefully we can pick him up. We've only seen him once, so we're kind of chasing a ghost, but we know where he beds, or where he did bed, and the only way to get after him is to hunt where he's at. So hopefully it'll pan out and we can get some eyes on him again and relocate him. If we can relocate him, maybe get a stalk in and hopefully put that buck down. We'll see what happens. My first evening back on the Kaibab, I decided to go back to the ridge where we last seen Sharktooth. What started as a regular summertime monsoon quickly turned into a torrential downpour, hindering my ability to see across the canyon and pushing me back to camp. But the next morning, I was back at it, determined to find this deer one more time. Last night, driving around, there's a lot of water on the ground now. It wasn't like this when we were up here last week with my brother. So we kind of looked around, saw if we could find that big buck from last week, and I couldn't glass him up. We're gonna go back there this morning and see if we can get back on him. He's too big of a buck not to chase. So that's the one we're gonna go after this morning. If we don't see him up on that ridge, probably gonna just go back to the honey hole and hunt Coke Can and some of those other deer that we have. But there's something about this deer that definitely has my attention. It's kind of giant. Got 2 really big bucks located right across this ridge here. I've been watching kind of feed down and hang out. The wind just isn't right. I'm about to go bed down in some really thick oaks too. It's good to see them. Both those are good deer. We'll see what happens. Some big deer. That next morning, I decided to start my hunt on the same ridge, and it didn't take long for the big 4-point to show up once again. Just glassed up that same 4-point from yesterday. We had him like 15 yards, and he went and bedded in the exact same area he was in yesterday. So since the wind's gonna be coming from the south today, we're gonna come up this ridge from the other side. It's gonna be steep and nasty, but I think if we can make a move quick, we'll be able to get him down this morning, hopefully.